Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Christie and I have a 1-year-old daughter called Grace and I have another baby on the way due in December this year. I'm currently 15 weeks pregnant, so today I'm going to give you a little bit of an update about what's been happening in the 15th week. Firstly, I hope that fan isn't too distracting, but it's really hot where I live in the UK in Kent at the moment. It's currently 27 degrees outside and I've put the fan on low, but I'm worried that if I turn it off I might actually spontaneously combust, so hopefully that sound isn't too distracting. So this week baby is the size of an avocado and their arms and legs have completely developed now and all of the bones inside their body are starting to harden. Their eyes are still closed but they can sense movement in light and stuff now, which is really exciting. And like last week as well, they're practicing that grip on the umbilical cord and one day around my hand and my fingers. So as I've said, I'm feeling really hot at the moment. I've never been pregnant in summer before. So with Grace, I fell pregnant in the July. So it was very early days in that, in the rest of summer. And I didn't really experience real pregnancy in heat. And now I understand what everyone's talking about. I thought, oh, surely it can't be that uncomfortable, but I think you feel the heat so much more and just feel really hot all over your body. And I'm naturally quite a cold person, so to go from that to actually feeling like I might catch fire at any point has been a bit of a shock to the system. And as a result, the main symptom that I've experienced this week is feeling very dizzy, very lightheaded. I've struggled even some days not managed to shower because I'm worried about the trip from bed in the morning to the shower and about having a dizzy spell on the way, which I've had a couple of times. I actually fainted in the shower the other day as well, just from the heat, and so my personal hygiene has taken a bit of a turn this week. We did have a huge thunderstorm yesterday, which I got caught in unfortunately, but that's besides the point. But it's cooled down the air a lot and relieved a lot of the pressure in the air, so I'm feeling a lot better today. And I also saw my midwife today, which I'll come on to in a little while, but she said just keep drinking lots of water and trying to keep your blood pressure up. I thought it might be my iron levels because I was anemic in my pregnancy with Grace. However, my iron levels at my booking appointment were really good, which is also a worry for me because not only was I anemic in pregnancy with Grace, which means that I'm more prone to become anemic this time, but also I'm vegan, so I know that through my diet I could be susceptible to iron deficiency anyway. So I'm glad that that's not been an issue at this early stage, but I know they're going to test my iron again later in pregnancy. So as a preemptive measure, I have bought some Spartone. So this is what Spartone looks like. This is the daily shots, but you can also get it in a powder form, I think, to mix in with water, I think. But these are liquid shots, and this is the apple flavour. They also have just a flavourless one, but it's literally licking a metal pole. It's so metallic. This still has a metallic taste, but the apple covers it quite well and it's not actually that unpleasant to have. But it's naturally rich in iron water with vitamin C. And my midwife recommended these to me in my last pregnancy because I really struggled with taking the iron tablets that were prescribed to me. They just made me feel quite ill. So I'm starting these in the hopes that it will keep my iron up for the duration of my pregnancy. And like I say, they're a little bit more pleasant than the tablets if you're not at that level where you need to go on a prescription for them. I also had an iron infusion after birth with Grace during my week's stay in the hospital because I really wasn't very well and Grace wasn't very well after birth either. I had an iron infusion, and when it goes in it looks like Diet Coke. It's in this really dark, it's this dark red bag, but so dark it's almost brown/black. and it just goes through on a drip, and that made me feel incredible. So if I do kind of go over the threshold for iron tablets this time, I'm thinking about asking whether it's possible to have an iron infusion instead. Can't remember if I mentioned last week, but in general I'm just feeling a lot brighter in myself, and a lot better in terms of my mental health, crying less, having less mood swings, so I'm glad that started to even out now. Physically, I'm experiencing a bit more like pelvic girdle pain. I'm noticing that when my legs separate to like get out of the car or get out of bed, that's when I feel it the most. So I'm trying to like swing my legs together when I need to do those things to help with that pain, but they're also like grinding and clicking quite a bit still as well. I actually forgot to mention it at my midwife appointment today, and I was a bit flustered at the midwife appointment, and I'll tell you why in a short while, but I wish I'd mentioned it. But one thing that I did mention, which has come up in my updates before, is ab separation. So basically I haven't got like a full separation where you can see the line down the middle of my abdomen, but when I like sit up or like engage my core muscles, I get like a cone shape on the front of my belly, and I mentioned it to my midwife today, and she said it might just be that from where you had Grace not that long ago, so Grace was only 1 when I fell pregnant again, that it might just be that my abs haven't completely healed from that, because it can take up to about 18 months. But she said it wasn't anything to worry about, and after birth I should really concentrate on doing my pelvic floor exercises, because that will help to bring it all together again. So at my midwife appointment we listened into baby's heartbeat, and before she put the Doppler like on my stomach, she said, oh, it might be like, don't be alarmed because it can take a while to find baby's heartbeat. But literally as soon as she put it on there, like I heard like baby's heartbeat, lovely and strong. She said baby was really wriggling, which also corresponds with the 12-week scan where baby was moving around a lot. So I'm a little bit concerned about the temperament of this baby, because Grace is quite, although she's like very strong-willed and very independent, very sassy, she is a very good sleeper and she's very good at relaxing. So I feel like I may not be as lucky this time round and have a little bit of a more boisterous toddler on my hands when this baby's born. But I'm really glad that the heartbeat's all okay and that it was found really quickly. And look forward to having that done again in the future as well. So the reason my midwife appointment wasn't great today, and I feel really deflated from it, which is such a shame because my booking appointment was so good. I had the same midwife with my pregnancy with Grace, so she's kind of seen me all the way through that pregnancy, and then we started this pregnancy journey again together, and it's nice to have that continuity of care. Because she knows what I'm like, what I worry about, etc. But today when I went in, although she was in the practice, it was actually a student midwife who did my appointment for me. And she must be like nearly qualified, because she said that I might see her at the birth because she'll be qualified by then. And obviously I'm like 4 months pregnant now, so she must be nearly qualified. And she was perfectly like pleasant enough person, but while we were chatting, we got onto the subject of me requesting a C-section. Now, if you haven't seen my previous updates, and if I've not mentioned it recently, I had a not great birth with Grace. The birth itself wasn't fabulous. It was an induced birth, which typically they tend to be more painful and more intense anyway, but prior to the induction my waters went on their own, and like labour didn't start on its own naturally, so there was quite a long period of time, about 40 hours, between my waters going and me actually having Grace. And during that time an infection was introduced at some point, which meant that when Grace was born she was really quite poorly. We stayed in hospital with her for just over a week, and during that time she had to have antibiotics twice a day down on the neonatal unit. She was, to begin with, quite not like lifeless, but just like not very responsive, and it was a really scary time She had to have like lumbar punctures to rule out meningitis and lots of blood tests, and it's just hard. Like, for a long time I blamed myself for a lot of what happened because I didn't push for things in my delivery that I feel like I should have done. So the main thing for me was that the day that I went in when my waters went, I wanted to be induced on that day, but I never like voiced that and raised that. And when they said, oh, just wait 24 hours, it should start on its own, I kind of accepted that and didn't push for what I felt was right. And in hindsight, at the time, I felt like that had caused this long period of time where infection could have been introduced, and felt a lot of guilt about that. I also, during my delivery, trigger warning if you don't like gore or like don't want to hear about birth trauma, then don't listen, but I had an episiotomy during my delivery with her and a 2nd degree tear, and during the recovery from that while I was in hospital, I then developed an infection myself, which meant that I was on a drip for antibiotics while I was in hospital. And it was quite a serious infection. It was like a septic level infection, and I just didn't recover very well from birth, even weeks later when I developed mastitis, because my immune system was already like interfered with, not as good as it should have been. What could have been quite an easy infection to treat, like quickly got back to septic levels again, and I had to be readmitted to hospital. So the whole process was just not ideal, the delivery itself and the recovery. And going into this birth, I knew that I wanted to request a C-section, and I did that in my first booking appointment. And I was so lucky that my midwife was very, very supportive and totally understood my reasons, and she did the obstetric referral there and then. This time, when I went to see this midwife, we got onto the subject again, and it felt like I had to start from the beginning and explain all of these reasons, because she didn't know my antenatal history and hadn't been there at that booking appointment when I went through everything that happened at the delivery that led to this decision. And it kind of, for me, went beyond the justification of risks and complications involved in C-sections, of which I understand there are many, and it like verged on scaremongering for me, and it just wasn't a conversation in which I felt supported. And when I raised that and kind of said, look, I don't want to go forward and have to have a battle to have the birth that I want, that I feel was best for me and for the baby, she said, look, you're going to be met with resistance as you get into like your obstetrician appointments, etc. They're going to try and talk you out of it, and they're going to try and give you all of this information to scare you. And my personal opinion is that antenatal care shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be designed to scare people. It should be designed to give people all the information that they need to make an informed choice. So now I feel, one, a bit deflated from my appointment, because I was hoping to see my actual midwife, who I have a really good relationship with and who understands like my history, like I say, and we wouldn't have had to go through all of that like explanation of my birth again. And two, now anxious about going forwards and being met with resistance from obstetricians, other midwifery professionals, etc., about the decision that I've made. And I just hope that I'm going to be proved wrong. I'm also hoping that Steve will be able to come with me, because Steve is a brilliant advocate. It's not that I can't speak for myself, but he knows what I want, why I want it, and he will give me that support and help advocate for me in the moment. So I'm hoping he can come with me to my appointment whenever that might be. In terms of how this times with the world, just to give you a bit of context, we're still in the PAMI-D, it's still COVID times, but we have passed Freedom Day, which means that you don't have to like wear a mask, there's no social distancing and stuff, but hospitals don't really seem to have caught up with that yet. So although he's allowed to my scans, he's still not allowed to my antenatal appointments, like my midwife appointments at my GP. And I don't know whether he's going to be able to come to my obstetrician appointment. So hopefully that will become clear, and I guess when I get the referral letter through in the post, it will say in there whether he can come. But if it says that he can't, I'll probably give them a call and just say, like, I'm talking about something quite sensitive and I'd like someone there to support me. So if they can accommodate, then that would be really, really helpful. But I feel like it will be fine in the end. I know that it's my choice, and I know that the NICE guidelines means that I have the right to make that choice, and I'm very, very grateful for that. I just don't want to fight for the choice, if you know what I mean. I'm hoping I won't have to, and that'll be proved wrong, but we will see. So coming up in week 16, I've got my gender scan in 2 days' time. I think that we know the gender because we did an early blood test, but this will be like confirmation of the gender. I've ordered a balloon. Obviously I don't know what the balloon says yet or what colour it is. Not like a popping balloon, but just like a balloon with like words and the colours on it. So I can go and pick that up on Friday after our scan, and then kind of like announce at the weekend what we're having, and I'm super excited for that. Although I said I wouldn't, I've let myself get my hopes up about what I think the gender is, and it's not that I'll be disappointed either way, it's just I've allowed that thought to become reality. And if it's not the gender I think that it is, I will be just quite shocked. I'd also be thinking about how I'm going to return all of the things that I've bought that won't work, like for the other gender. So it's just, I'm hoping that it confirms what we think, but we will see. So that's it for my week 15 update. If you want to follow along my pregnancy journey, if you're pregnant yourself, then congratulations, or even if you just like to watch this type of video, then please subscribe to my channel, because I'll be doing a weekly update from now until the birth and hopefully beyond. Like and comment below to let me know that you've enjoyed this video, and let me know any questions that you might have, and I will see you in my week 16 update. Bye.